Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. It is pretty damn clear, at least to both of us, and I think it's becoming clear to a lot of people across the country. There are three teams currently at the top of the sport: Ohio State, it's Oregon, and it's Miami. And I think the question that we're going to try to solve today is, hey, who's the real best team in college football as we sit here at the end of September? How do you do it, Dill? How do you determine who the three best teams are? Good old fashioned roster battle. For those who've been rocking with the boys for a long time, this is a very fun exercise for us. Position group by position group. Who's got the most amount of talent and where are those talent advantages is what essentially we're going to try to figure out. Now, the best part about the roster battle, hearing from you guys in the comment section, because Dill, when you're talking about these three teams, it gets really nitty gritty. There's a lot of different ways that you could go when you're choosing, hey, who's got the best roster in college football? Y'all let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, without further ado, let's start at the top of the sport here, and I'll put you on the spot. You got Carson Beck, you got Dante Moore, you got Julian saying, if you needed to win a football game this Saturday, who's the quarterback that you're taking out of the three?
I think it's got to be Dante Moore. I think that level he kind of got to in that Penn State game in big moments with a lot of pressure on him. I thought he kind of rose to the occasion. And probably to me, it's Dante Moore, Beck, and then Julian Sayin. And at the end of the day, I just don't know that we've gotten to see everything Julian Sayin is. To me, like you've seen Carson Beck in big spots. I thought in that Notre Dame game made a lot of big plays when maybe some other things weren't exactly humming for that Miami team. Julian Sayin, like, he's had it kind of easy, for lack of better.
I think that's fair.
Game, yeah, that's a good defense, but like they couldn't move the ball against Ohio State, so Ohio State didn't need to like ask Julian Sayin to do anything crazy. To me, we certainly could see that, and if Julian Sayin goes plays Penn State and lights him up or something, my opinion might change. But right now, I probably trust.
Yeah, that's the conversation you have with Julian Sayin. And like number one, look, this kid's really damn good quarterback.
He has been sharp. I'll say, like in terms of like just operating that offense, like really sharp. Really,
it's just an unknown, Dill. It's an unknown if he's that true difference maker at the quarterback spot. And Dill, here's the thing: if you're an Ohio State fan, when you have Jeremiah Smith, when you have Carnell Tate, when you have a cat like Bo Jackson who seemingly is coming on at the running back position, how many times in this year is he going to have to be that true difference maker? Because you got the cats around him. Dill, and this isn't a cop-out because I'll give you my answer. I love the situation for all three quarterbacks. So we loved the fact that Dante Moore got to sit behind Dylan Gabriel last year and get ushered into the Will Stein offense, of which we think he's a really good fit for. Carson Beck, you couldn't put him in a better offense for his skill set. You give him a good run game, you keep him clean in the pocket, Carson Beck is going to process the heck out of a lot of different defenses. And then Julian Sayin, rhythmic thrower, super accurate, super on time. That's the exact quarterback Ohio State needed because of all that talent they have on the outside. My answer is like yours, Dante Moore. I think he's the one who really has showed this year that he's a difference maker when it's not perfect. Dill worked on his athleticism in a big time way, which matters. You're going to need that. You're going to need Dante Moore to tap into that more times throughout 2025, and him showing us he can do that, throw off platform, make high-level throws, but also keep the ball out of harm's way. I'm taking Dante Moore right now. Best believe all three of these quarterbacks, really good fits in their respective offenses. All three are some of the best quarterbacks in the sport. Running back position, Miami, Oregon, Ohio State. What running back room are you taking here?
I mean, Miami, and I don't think it's particularly close, frankly.
Really?
For me, like, I'd probably go Miami. I don't even know if I really differentiate. I think both teams, Ohio State and Oregon, Ohio State, at least with Bo Jackson, it feels like he's kind of taken over and you kind of know who the guy is. Oregon, like you've seen guys step up at times, like Jaden Lamar, I think played really well early in the year. I didn't look incredible, I didn't think, against that Penn State team. Dyer Hill, though, comes out of the woodwork and really lights it up. It's a deep room. I still want to see that guy emerge. So I'll probably give Ohio State the edge over Oregon. But that's just because Bo Jackson, to me, is starting to run like a real kind of like premier running back.
Do you not think Dyer Hill emerged a little bit Saturday night in Happy
I
Valley?
guess I want to see it more, like because he had a couple of big runs. That's kind of all we have to go on. Like, can he for
It
20
looked right,
snaps a
man.
game
It
just
looked
grind it
right,
out?
and I'll say this every time he touches the football, Dill, it feels a little bit different with that cat. My bigger question is, does he have the physicality
Well,
to
that's what I'm
sustain
saying.
a
Like, to be a running back one, you got to be able to grind out hard yards. I don't know that I know that about him yet. I kind of know that about Bo Jackson. I love the way he runs, and that's why I'll probably give the slight edge to him.
yeah, and I do like Noah Whittington too. I'm probably going with it, Dill, Miami though. I love what they do with those two cats. Like just a bunch of inside zone. We gonna run right downhill at y'all, and you got the two running backs to do it. Like Mark Fletcher, Tramar Brown. That's one of the things I'll say about Miami that I really appreciate. I feel like their personnel fits exactly what they're trying to be as a football team. Still, that matters because we've seen a bunch of teams have a ton of talent. I mean, go look at a team like Alabama. Go look at a couple of those Texas A&M teams, Dill. I mean, you talk about talent, it just never came together. Like there wasn't a clear identity. Your personnel didn't match what you wanted to do. I feel like Miami, I don't know if they will necessarily win this roster battle. I feel like it fits in terms of what they want to do. Pass catchers. We can keep this kind of short. Ohio State number 1. I'm going Oregon number 2. Like from what you've seen with the Corian Moore, which it would have, which with what you have, with a guy like Kenyon Sadiq at tight end, Malik Benson. But there's the story, Dill, is we thought Miami would maybe had a huge question mark at the pass catcher room. Not nearly as much of a problem. In fact, it's just straight up not a problem. The Miami pass catchers coming on in a big way in 2025.
And I still probably need to see more of it in terms like how good they really are. Do they have that guy on the boundary who really scares you? Like Keelan Marion's kind of the guy who, to me, didn't really think he'd be a wildly productive wideout. I figured they'd be able to get him involved in special teams in some gadgety plays.
Yeah.
He's like, you've seen him beat Notre Dame cornerbacks and get down the field vertically and make some things happen.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, like, do they have that guy who really scares me in the way that a Jeremiah Smith does or the way that a Corian Moore does? I'm not sure they
Does
have.
Malachi Tony not qualify there?
No, he's awesome in the slot, but like, do they have that real threat on the boundary? Who? Because to me, I don't usually love when my team's led by the slot position. I'd usually like a Jeremiah Smith. That is kind of my.
But so here's back to kind of how we talked about. Look at those Shannon Dawson offenses, and look, I'm not trying to make the argument that Miami should be number 1 because they're number 3 in this for all intents and purposes. Shannon Dawson, Xavier Restrepo, Tank Dell back at Houston. It's just the kind of offense they run. You need that guy in the slot, and Dill Malachi Tony has answered the bell.
That is fair because also Carson Beck, like he probably is at his best in the middle of the field too. So I kind of get that, but I think like I don't know. I look at what these other teams can do in terms of like having a little bit more diversified portfolio of what they have
100%.
before.
Yeah.
I'd probably put them above.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say this for Oregon, the emergence of Malik Benson seemingly being a guy they can trust, I think's big. All right, one more thing I got. The tight end position for Miami. That's something I would like to see come along a little bit because I think there's something there with Elijah Lofton. I want to see it a little bit more. That's a big storyline for Miami fans to track as we go throughout 2025. Offensive line. I'm gonna put you on the spot
No,
here
it's
first.
Miami. I know you want to say Oregon, but it's the Miami Hurricanes. This is a unit that's been together for a couple of years now.
Yep.
I mean, they are dominating teams in a way that I think you very rarely see offensive lines dominate. And I was really impressed with that Oregon team. I'm not gonna like sit up here and I think like rewrite history. There were certainly some moments where Penn State was getting after him a little bit. In like fair play, Penn State's up there with the best front sevens in the country.
Yep.
I do think Miami, though, you haven't seen an ounce of vulnerability against anybody they've played, and they've just been hammering teams.
Want to know it's the separator with Miami, at least the way I look at it. And sorry to cut you off. I do think Ohio State's probably 3 here. And that I'll say this: the offensive line's been a pleasant surprise for a lot of Ohio State fans.
They're going to get Phillip Daniels going a little bit. I feel like there's been too much inconsistency at his spot, and I don't think you've seen that same level from maybe these other two teams.
Yeah, the thing And I love Oregon's offensive line, man. And I think they were the better offensive line between the two teams you saw in Happy Valley Saturday night. The reason Miami gets the edge is that the tackle play is so freaking nails. Francis Mano, he's the best tackle in the country. I would take him over Caden Proctor any day of the week at this point. And Mark Cabell on the other side. Like we're probably talking about Miami having 2 offensive tackles that are selected in the top 50 picks of the NFL draft, with Francis Mauigoa probably being a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. For Oregon, I love the interior of this offensive line. I don't think there's a better interior offensive line trio than what you have with Poncho at center, what you have with Dave Luley and Emmanuel Pregnon. But when you have because I think there are some do you think those Oregon tackles struggled maybe a little bit on the road against Penn State?
Frankly, like there are probably some holds that could have been called. Like I think there were some moments where Dante Moore bailed him out a little bit. Maybe the rest did a little bit too.
Yep.
I'm kind of with you. I think and it's not to say Miami's got a weak interior. That's a really good unit itself. Miami, to me, it's the best offensive line in the sport, and I'm not even sure it's close. It's almost like the Ohio State wide receivers, where they're just like playing at a different level than anyone else. That's kind of how I see Miami's offensive line.
I do think Oregon's the top 3 offensive line, though. How many offensive lines do you take?
No, I was trying to think. Like it's maybe Miami and maybe Oregon next.
Yeah, but there might be a little bit of a gap just because it's so hard to have 2 tackles that are going to go top 50 in the NFL draft. I think Miami legitimately has that defensive line. Who's the best player on any of these defensive lines? Is it clearly Ruben Bain?
If I'm Mateo Yu, I'd take a huge exception to that. Ruben Bain's dominating for sure. Yep. Mateo Yu, I mean, really, for a guy who played pretty much every snap on that game against Penn State, wall to wall was really good. Good rushing the passer, good in the run. Yes. Ruben Bain, to me, I think right now is playing at a higher level. I think his pass rush ability in terms of how dominant he's been is probably a little bit higher, but it's tight. And frankly, I go top to bottom.
Is Mateo Yu not the second best edge rusher in the sport right now? And that's not a shot at Colin Simmons. That's not a shot at Dylan Stewart. Just how many are you taking over?
Dylan Stewart's really good. I don't know if I'm taking anyone over. Dylan Stewart. I know Ruben.
Oh, I'm taking Ruben. No. You stop that. I'm saying, hey, in terms of what we've seen throughout just the first 5 weeks of this college football season, there's not been a defender in the country that's had a bigger impact on football games than Ruben Bain. I firmly believe that. Dylan Stewart's good, man. I think.
How do you stack them? Because I'd probably take Oregon. I think they're a little bit deep, right? Ohio State, or not Ohio, but Miami's been able to kind of mitigate some of their depth issues by being able to stay on the field a little bit more in terms of what they do offensively. I still I look at Oregon. I think in that game, well, I guess they both.
Dill, I'll say this. I'll take you. Gather your thoughts. I'll give my thoughts. I'm going Miami 1. And I went back and forth on this, and Dill, I'll say this: Oregon made a very, very strong push here, especially with the performance we saw from Barry Alexander, especially with just the performance in general, going on the road, being that stingy against the run. When you have, because here's the thing, we're talking about Ruben Bain on the other side of Keem Mesidor, that guy, Ahmad Moten, very, very good pass rusher. They have found a gem with David Blake coming from Louisiana Tech. You rotate Justin Scott. Now, Dill, I'm with you. My concern was who's the 4th interior defensive lineman for Miami? Well, it's a question mark. They don't really have one. They don't really play one in the meaningful snaps. Well, Dill,
but do you think top end either? Are there defensive tackles? Do they have a guy close to Amari Washington? Would you say? Because I'm not sure they do. Amari Washington is dominating football games. He's taken that step.
Yeah.
I mean, he is playing at an incredibly high level. And Barry Alexander, that was the first time we've ever seen him play a wall-to-wall game where he was really productive. So I'd probably lean Oregon because I don't think they give up much at the edge spot. And I don't think there's a guy on any of these teams, frankly, even Ohio State, who's playing as well as Amari Washington.
That could be. I could see that. I'm going to stick with Miami picks. I think that edge rusher duo, their ability to get after the passer, and what Ruben Bain does against the run. He hammer against the run too. I think he's that good where I'll give Miami the edge. I think he's going to go top 5 in the NFL draft. Ohio State, though. And here's the thing where I'll put my hand up. I was lower than most on Ohio State because of that. Like, Dill, I didn't have any question marks about Julian Sayin. I was not one of those guys who got up there in the summer and said, Julian Sayin has to prove it to me. Like, I just kind of trusted Ryan Day with a 5-star quarterback with 5-star wide receivers to put it together. My bigger concern was the defensive line. Pleasantly surprised again. Ohio State's a better football team than I thought they were. And Dill, Caden Curry playing really, really good coming off the edge. Caden McDonald on the inside, also playing very good football. I think you're very happy with Bo Atkinson and what he's done coming from North Carolina. I do think they're the third defensive line in this group. I don't think it's Ohio State's better than I thought.
Like inherently, if you're Ohio State, you probably want to go see them feast on a team for it. And even like that Texas game, I don't think you look at those stats. It's not like they were wildly disruptive, and they weren't a problem. It's not like they were getting run on or anything crazy, but they didn't dominate that Texas game. You've seen now Oregon and Miami. Both like,
and that's the thing, Dill. That's probably my argument that I would make is I feel like I just saw Miami against Notre Dame and, quite frankly, against Florida, two quality offensive lines. Yeah. I feel like in both of those games, that defensive line dominated the game. That's why I'm giving Miami the edge. Linebackers, I think this one's pretty damn clear. And I think you might be looking, Dill. I know most people say, hey, that Georgia linebacker room is the best in the country. What Ohio State's putting out there, man.
There's not a better linebacker in the country than Arvell Reese. I'll tell you that. And like Arvell Reese, they can line him up on the edge, let him rush the passer. He plays well in space. He is a real monster. And to be that big and move the way he does, and same with Sonny Styles, frankly, like similar kind of composition. They're just like big, long, athletic linebackers who are unbelievably
good. They're some of the best pure athletes that you see in all of college football. And I'll say this, they got a couple of young bucks too that can play as well. Ohio State's number one, I think pretty dang clearly. Who are you taking, Miami or Oregon, coming in at the number 2 spot?
I'm probably going to lean Miami right now because I think Mo Torre is playing unbelievably well, and I really like the kind of like the pairing, if you will. Wesley Bissaint a little bit more rangier. Mo Torre, who's like not like playing like that stodgy way I was kind of worried he would.
No, he's awesome.
He looks good. He looks pretty lean. He's moving around pretty well, but can certainly fit the run and be tough in the box. I'd probably lean Miami, but it's tight. I mean, I kind of want to find that next guy to emerge with Bryce Betcher. I'd like the way Jerry Mixon's playing, but like I don't know that he's playing at the level of a Wesley Bissaint.
I would probably disagree with that, and I think I'm going to take Miami because of what Mo Torre has done and how consistent Wesley. But I do like what I've seen from both Jerry Mixon and Devin Jackson at times, and I think that's a nice little rotation to play. And Dill, here's the thing I will say. That's probably the position group for both teams that I maybe have the biggest question marks about for both of those teams, specifically Oregon. Like, I think, hey, what's the aspect of this team that might not be elite? It's probably the off-ball linebackers if you're picking a position group for Oregon. All right, to the secondary we go.
Another one that I don't know that's super tight. I think it's Ohio State, and I think Ohio State pretty clearly to me.
Yeah, this one is, to me, it's Ohio State, Oregon, Miami. I didn't even like think twice about it. And I will say this, very similar to how I said Ohio State's defensive line is pleasantly surprised. The Miami secondary, like, leaps and bounds, man, in terms of what they, and I ain't saying that
much. You can throw them in the top 3 and not like really question it because it's not a problem. Like we look, all these 3 teams don't have any glaring issues. Like, maybe Ohio State's defensive line isn't the best in the nation. Maybe Miami's secondary isn't the best in the nation, so forth. But they're all really solid. Miami, like the questions you had, and probably the biggest one, none other than the secondary, they're playing well. OJ Frederick is a really, really good cornerback, and I think he's held it down well. And then those 2 transfer safeties are playing at high level.
Yeah, and you saw Oregon. I don't know if this is saying much either. You saw Oregon put them wide receivers in jail in Happy Valley. I don't like, again, I'm feeling.
Yeah, that's not saying I don't. That's not how I'm going to judge them. I am very excited to see Oregon play some real top end widers or like passing attacks because that's not the biggest. I don't care what the like media gaslit us into believing that they were going to be
100%
on offense. They're obviously miles away. I do want to see what this young secondary can do against like real premier talent because we haven't seen it yet.
Want to know what the most important, because this is the conversation here. I think we're on track, and this comes from a Michigan fan. I think we're on track to seeing a Big Ten championship game that includes Ohio State and Oregon, right?
Feels
last year, specifically in the Rose Bowl, these Oregon defensive backs couldn't run with Ohio State. It was clear. That was varsity versus JV, just from an athleticism standpoint. Oregon's got guys now, like big, fast dudes that can run really damn fast. I mean, you look at Ifio, you look at Brandon Finney, those are NFL caliber dudes. I am very interested to see how Oregon can manage those athletes at Ohio State if we do get that matchup.
Because at least from, like you said it, like talent-wise, Oregon now has it. Like I look at those guys, it's like, oh, we're not just like 5'10" and slow. And I'm looking across at Jeremiah Smith, like this is gonna be a problem.
Yeah, like as much as I love Jabbar Muhammad, there's just we kind of knew the bigger, stronger guys probably.
I mean, there's a reason that Oregon defensive backfield wasn't exactly high on the NFL draft boards come the end of like the year. It was what it was. They were like solid college football players. That doesn't cut it when you're trying to win national.
When you're trying to guard Jeremiah Smith. Yeah,
right now, you kind of have guys who talent to talent are kind of more or less on par with that top end.
All right, Dill, who's got the best roster in the country after going through all of these position groups? It really, in my opinion, I'll give you a second because I don't even know if you're prepared an answer. So I'll say this.
No, I kind of have it compartmentalized, so I'll have to.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick. To me, it depends on like what you value the most, right? Because when you look at Ohio,
that's a cop out. No, why don't you give us a real answer?
My answer is Ohio State. I think they have, and it's very, very close. In fact, you know that I had Miami the #1 team last week, and then I watched Ohio State specifically on that defensive line have a very good performance against the Washington team that I'm higher on than most. They answered the biggest questions I had because I still think that defensive line, although it might not be on Miami and Oregon's level right now, I still think they're really, really damn good. They're involving those linebackers in a big-time way. It comes down to who are the best football players on the field when I'm looking for the best team in the country. And I think Ohio State has that. This might change over the next couple of weeks because I will say this, what I love about Miami is I think they're the best line of scrimmage program that you see in the country. That to me matters a lot too.
Well, I'll take the Bucks because I frankly think there's one guy, and it's Dante Moore. Like Dante Moore, I think proves something to me that they have the prerequisite of all prerequisites. And that's a quarterback who, in any situation, I have 100% confidence in. And I don't know that I can say that quite yet about either. Like Carson Beck, I've seen him play really good football. Julian saying, again, jury's kind of still out until he gets his shot to prove us all wrong. Or maybe like
prove you wrong. You be down.
No. Honestly, the better way to phrase it is probably prove everybody right. Because I do think he's got everyone knows he's talented. Everyone knows he's really good. Like, go prove that you're that guy in those spots. But Dante Moore right now, I mean, he's the man. You got a quarterback there. You're really talented everywhere else. That's why I'd probably give the edge to Oregon.
Yeah. And you go back and forth, right? And it's probably going to change for both of us at times in 2025. We'll close it out there. Hey, if you want, this is what I want for the real dedicated listeners. Run down your own roster battle. Like, who are you giving the edge to? Okay, quarterback, running back, put them all out there. We'll chop it up down there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.